So the session is about financial management. How do we manage money? How do we manage our cash flow? So finance this our topic is basically ocean. So I'll just try to touch upon all the key points so that it's not just for the crisis or for the pandemic. It is for the future and in general. How do you manage finance in your organization? So it's basically for entrepreneurs. So I'll just start the session. I will not talk much about what is the situation because it's already been 50 days plus. So we know what is the situation. So I just touch upon how it is going to impact entrepreneurs and how the future is going to be. So we know the impact. The impact has been really huge, be it a small company or a large company. Everyone are facing the impact. So right now, if you ask me, the situation is like become like a 2020 game. So normally entrepreneurs take their own risk. Few people take risk, few people don't take risk. We play like a test match. A lot of them in their entrepreneurship journey only say hardly 5 to 10% are aggressive. So balance entrepreneurs, if you see, they take time to actually act upon things. So now if you see the situation, how entrepreneurs have to act is basically like an IPL match. So IPL format we all know. So it is very fast. The decisions are taken very quick. The business model is completely different. So if you see, the beauty of IPL is people around the world, the top cricketers join hands together and form as a team. So it's no more India versus Pakistan or India versus Bangladesh. It's like that. So IPL is totally different. So you have a lot of people collaborating together and trying to win the game. So COVID has taught us a lesson where going forward, it's no more competition will be there. In fact, it will be intense. But how do we come over the impact? And the virus is basically collaborating with each other. And that's how we can actually win the game. So we need to play our business as if we are playing as an IPL where everything is fast and the speed matters actually. Speed and the action matters. So if you ask me what is different, everything is going to be different going forward, be it the market approach, how we are going to see the market. The business models are going to change dramatically. So you can't say I'll be using the traditional approach of how the things are done. So strategies are going to change. The decision making as an entrepreneur, you need to be very fast in making decisions. So you have to make calculative decisions. And action is one word where see, we have been hearing a lot of things from a lot of people, but what matters is action and implementation. So if you see entrepreneurs, they actually miss out on taking action and implementation because there are so many things they are confused as to which one should I implement first. So my request is basically don't think too much. Just take what are the top 3 priorities for you. Take actions accordingly because every action is important. So safety and speed, you have to ensure that quick data driven actions are required. See, a lot of them, what they do is they take decisions based on their gut feeling, but not based on the data. So what we suggest is you have to take decisions based on the fact and circumstances. So not just your gut feeling or something. See, it's just as a luck. But in this time of crisis, you can't play using your luck. So it's sheer smart work and how fast you take decisions. And technology, as we've been hearing for last 5 to 10 years, going forward, technology will actually be even more critical where if you are not adapting to technology, actually it's very difficult to survive. See, once you say technology, a lot of people, what they think is technology needs a lot of money to implement. It's not like that actually. So even a cost effective, a simple technology which may cost you very less, or there are a lot of free applications where using those technology you can actually change all your process, whereby you can improve your productivity in everything. So technology definitely has to be adopted. And remember, cash flow, if you ask me, whatever action you're going to take now or in the future, definitely it will impact your business. So be it a decision in sales, be it a decision in fixed cost, or anything for that matter, whatever you do, every action actually impacts the cash flow. So as entrepreneurs, we need to understand, what will impact your cash flow if you do something. So what they say is, if you don't take action now, There will be a 10x impact in your business going forward. So maybe directly or indirectly. So definitely every action impacts your cash flow. You have to keep that in mind. And a lot of them I see, what they do is basically one of their friend or their competitors will adopt something. It is not that you can also adopt the same thing, same strategy, because every company's financial statements are different. Every company's risk-taking appetite is different. The way the companies manage cash flow is different for each company, even though you may be in the same industry. So what I would say is, for your company, based on your balance sheet strength, you have to actually build the strategies. So you cannot copy paste all the strategies from a company and do things. Maybe 10 to 20% of strategy you can, just adopt, but definitely you have to see your strength and then adopt. So this is what just a brief update about how things are changing. So we'll get into the session basically. So see, there are three things: past, present, and future. There is no point in actually thinking about the past or the past financial decisions. A lot of them might get things in mind where I should have saved money, I should have done a proper investment. See, past is past. Okay, so what is in our control is basically the current situation and the future. So going forward, ensure that you are financially stable and you build a surplus and corpus. Maybe next 6 months, 12 months, even surviving and making just the proper cash flow may be difficult. But I'm talking about once things stabilizes, you have to focus on basically more on savings and investments. That is only will give hand actually. So future, if you see, you have to be proactive in accounting and finance. So going forward, we are going to discuss how accounting and finance can impact your business and totally change you. That is what we're going to discuss. So this is the key slide. So a lot of them have things in mind where they take accounting and finance for granted actually. So it is kind of a last resort for them. So they only focus, they in the sense the entrepreneurs basically focus purely on sales. How do I build my sales? How do I do marketing? Because that is their strength. Or a lot of people focus on operations. But what I would say is accounting and finance is way more important than anything else. So first example is if you can see the picture, this says that a foundation should be very strong. If you are building something, foundation here in the sense is accounting and finance. The building is basically your business. So a building will be very strong only when your foundation is very strong. So foundation, if you take for any business, is accounting and finance. So if you build your accounting and finance very, very strong, and the deeper you build your foundation of accounting and finance strong, you can actually build a great building. No matter what, it will actually remain forever. So that's why if you see top companies, they keep on expanding and they become more and more stronger. Reason being, they have laid their foundation in accounting and finance very, very strong, because they know that whatever action you take in your business, definitely accounting and finance is what matters a lot. So first, the picture is all about that. Second picture, if you see, a lot of them ask me how important is accounting and finance. I generally quote this example to show people that, see, if you see this picture, it is basically a dashboard of your car. Okay, so what this shows is basically, when you see a dashboard of a car, what all you can see. You can see that what speed we are going, what is the fuel left, how much mileage we are getting. So trip A, trip B, there are a lot of things in the car's dashboard, right? So imagine if this dashboard is not working at all. Okay, just for 2 seconds, just imagine the car's dashboard is not working. Okay, what will happen as people think? So there are a lot of things which becomes difficult. So for example, if the fuel speedometer or the fuel does not work, so we don't know how much fuel is left and what needs to be done. So all of a sudden, if you see a lot of cars break down, it's basically business also is something. Accounting and finance is something like this. So accountings all talk about number, because how much profit you have made, what is the loss you have done, only the accounting will tell you. So account, if you have now your numbers right, so basically if the speedometer is not working, it's like your accounts and finance are not proper. So when the accounting and finance is not proper, you don't know where you're going actually, what speed you're going. So you might think you're going in a speed of 60, maybe you're going in 40, or you may be going in 90. So as a entrepreneur, we should know where we are going. That accounting, a proper accounting will only tell you where you're actually heading. And if you see fuel, it's like if you take petrol or diesel, it's like your cash flow. So imagine your petrol or diesel is not there, or it is empty. So you compare it with cash flow basically. So if there is no cash flow in the business, the car will not run. So it's basically accounting and finance is important, where that is the key, where you know where you're going. When do you want to stop? When do you can expand? A lot of things can be done only when there are accurate accounting and finance. So accounting and finance is easy to understand. See, first thing what entrepreneurs have in their mind is accounting and finance is very difficult. I'm not able to, understand accounting and finance. See, I will tell you 3 simple reasons why accounting and finance is difficult and people don't focus as entrepreneurs. One is they don't have the right accountant. So if you see, a lot of them compromise on the accountant salary. So what my request is, never compromise on the accountant salary. Have a very good accountant, because if the accountant is weak, your numbers will be weak. You will not get the right numbers. So what is the profit am I making? So we would have seen a lot of times entrepreneurs saying that I don't know what profit I'm making. I don't know whether my collections are accurate or not, whether what is to be paid to whom, I don't know. They just believe on accountant and do things. So, but if you see, proper accountant will maintain all the records and data. So you should have a right accountant to make accounting and finance easy for you actually. So second important thing is engage your auditors frequently. A lot of them, what they do is they go to their auditors only when they want to file their taxes. So it should not be that way actually. So you have to be in touch with your auditor, maybe 3 months once or 6 months once, or at least over phone, and keep sharing your things, what you have planned. You can share your budget. In fact, owners should tell their auditors that, sir, this is my sales which is going to be, I'm planning to make this year. This is my expenses. These are my profits. So tell me, for this profit, how much tax I should pay, and how advance tax has to be paid. So that is a conversation basically the client, the entrepreneur should have with their auditor. But what happens is they do everything. The financial year end is over. Only when they want to actually file their returns, they go to the auditor. And then finally, auditor does not have much options left. So they kind of suggest that what is best, but in the end, it's in the hand of the entrepreneur as to how they maintain their accounting and finance. So they take it for granted basically. Only for loan, they keep their accounting and finance strong, nothing else. So engage your auditor frequently. That's my request. And third important thing is owners should know to read financials. See, I have seen a lot of business owners where if you take your balance sheet and P&L, profit and loss, they don't know if you ask some question out of their own balance sheet and profit and loss. So imagine the business owner goes to the banker to get some loan or extension of the loan, and the banker asks a lot of questions like, what is your ratio, what is your current asset, and there are so many things in balance sheet where actually the owner does not know. What they do is they either send their accountant, or they actually coordinate with their auditor. So what my request is, going forward, you can't say I don't know what is current asset, I don't know what is current liability. At least the basics of accounts and finance, an entrepreneur should know. Because if the owner does not know accounting and finance, how are you going to manage your accountant? How are you going to have conversation with your auditor? So it's like you keep doing business, but you don't know where you're going. That is what is the impact. So your owner should know to read financials. So only if you do all these things, accounting and finance will be easy. So first, my request is remove the block that accounting and finance is tough. So it's not tough. It's just how you focus and understand the basics at least. Second is get your basics right. Because see, as I've been saying, your foundation should be very strong. Only when your foundation is strong, you can do the business really well. So there are a few basics which, with respect to accounting and finance, where an entrepreneur should know. So first basic difference is an entrepreneur should know the difference between accounting and finance. A lot of them think these both are same things, but actually if you see, accounting is totally different, finance is totally different. Accounting is basically recording of all the transaction, be it sales, purchase, expenses in your accounting software or maintaining in Excel. So that is what is accounting all about. Just entering all your financial transactions and maintaining all the vouchers like sales vouchers, bank vouchers, and various other vouchers. That is what is accounting about. But if you see finance, it is totally different. It's futuristic basically. Finance is always futuristic because what happens is finance activities are basically where should I invest, how much should I invest, what should be my rate of return, what should be my return on investment, budgeting, how should I do, how good the budgeting should be. So how do I manage my cash flow? How do I manage my money more efficiently that I get good returns? So all these activities, if you see, that comes under finance. But if you ask entrepreneurs, actually they don't know the difference between accounting and finance. They think that, okay, accountant will take care. We are doing good sales, so everything will be taken care. So that is the myth where actually entrepreneurs are into. So you should know clearly what is accounting and finance. So you should have two different people. I mean, in case you are able to hire a person, have a separate person for accounting, have a separate person for finance. Or if your accountant can manage both, or as a owner, you should be more involved in finance and your accountant should be more involved in accounting. That is how it should be. The second is cash flow versus profitability. We are going to discuss what is the difference between cash flow versus profitability. What should we focus in? We are going to discuss that. And return on capital employed. We are going to discuss that. Costing, how critical it is. Costing of your product, knowing the cost of a product can actually help you survive during this time. So that important is costing right now. If you see, fixed cost versus variable cost. See, by now, I feel most of the entrepreneurs have understood what is fixed cost, because there is no sales, there is only expense there. And when there is only expense and there is no income, you actually get down and look into what is your cost, what is your rent, what is your salary. See, all along, you have been getting money, you have been paying salary, you have been paying rent. It was going fine, it's all fine. But now when there is no inflow, there's only outflow, entrepreneurs are forced to actually look into their fixed cost. So we are going to discuss about that. And working capital management. How do you manage your working capital and cash flow effectively so that we all survive, and not just survive, we make some profits? That is what we are going to discuss. So cash flow versus profitability. So if you ask me what is cash flow, it is very simple. What is the money coming in? What is the money going out? And if you are able to manage that effectively without any issues, that is what is cash flow basically. So cash flow is money coming in, money going out. If you're managing it effectively without any crunch, that is called a proper cash flow management. And profitability is basically your sales minus expenses, all your expenses. What is left is profit. Okay, we are going to discuss that. So basically, what the focus now every entrepreneur have to make is cash flow is very, very important, because money coming inside the business is very, very critical. So now everyone has realized that whatever money comes in, people are happy actually, because all along last 50 days, there was either no money flow or only the pending receivables we were actually getting. So cash flow definitely is very, very important. See how fast you can get the money inside. Maybe you can give 10% discount to your customer. It is up to you. Money coming in fast and money coming in now is 1,000 times better than money coming in tomorrow. So every entrepreneur should get that actually. That is what is a proper cash flow management. And going forward, next 6 months or 12 months, don't focus too much on profit. Maybe you are having a 15%.
Amrit,
yes,
Amrit?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to say one thing on this.
Okay.
Recently, I started approaching my clients. Okay, whatever I have quoted, I'm giving them some discounts.
Okay.
To start the project immediately.
Great, sir. Great.
If I start a project immediately, I can give some discount for you. So as you said, cash flow is more important for us instead of waiting for the projects. It's a good point you have mentioned. Thank you.
Correct, sir. See, that's what, if you see, lot of business, they give 2% cash discount. Actually, if you see 2% per month cash discount, the reason why they give is 2% into 12, 24%. Generally is an interest basically. So if you're getting the money fast, you save money on interest. You need not pay to that extent the bank loans. That is what is all about. So if you ask me how much discount I can give, normally 2% per month is what people give as cash discount. It is up to you. You can give 1%. It's up to you. Okay. So don't focus too much on profitability going forward. Don't be too rigid on profit. Even if you get 2 rupees lesser, it's fine, but get the money fast. That's the key thing. So next slide is basically know if you're earning the right profits for your capital investment. A lot of them actually get worried seeing their net profit margin, net profit percentage. If you see people into the steel business, their net profit margin is say 1% or 2%. And a lot of business, if you see the net profit margin is say 3%, 4%, and not things like 20%, 25%. So right now, if you see net profit margin of more than 20%, 30%, it is very rare to see a lot of business. But if you ask me, net profit margin is actually not a proper measure or key measure where by seeing the net profit, you need to take decisions. It's not like that, because a lot of businesses are doing volume business. So their turnover is say 50 crores, 100 crores. They making 3% net profit is actually good, because what you have to see is not the percentage, you have to see the value. So with the value with which you have to compare is basically how much capital you have invested into your business. See, if you say, example, you're doing business for last 10 years, 15 years. Okay. But when you're starting a business, you would have put in say 5 lakh capital. And every year you would have made profits in your business. And that profit generally an entrepreneur actually keeps putting into the business itself. So what happens is that money gets utilized into the business. So over a period of 10 years, your capital would have been say 50 lakhs. When you started 5 lakhs, in next 10 years, you would have built a capital of say 50 lakhs. And also you have borrowed a loan from your bank, say 50 lakhs. So this 1 crore actually it is put into the business, and it's in the form of either fixed assets or in the form of stock or in the form of receivables. It is lying somewhere actually. So what you have to see is what capital you're putting into the business, what money you're putting into the business, how much that is earning. So to find out that, there is a ratio called ROCE, return on capital employed. So everyone as an entrepreneur actually have to focus on this also. How much return you are making on your capital employed. So the formula is given here. I'm not getting too detailed into what is this ratio. What I'm trying to say is net profit percentage definitely matters. But what also matters is not just the percentage, the value of profit, what you make. Compare that with your capital investment to actually get to know how much you are making. You may get actually 10%, 12% or 15%. So it is always better if your return on capital employed is more than your bank interest rate. So because a lot of them ask me, sir, I'm keep on borrowing money from bank. I'm getting loan every year. I'm extending my loan every year. Whether I'm going on the right track, am I taking too much of loan, or I'm not taking loan at all? See, a lot of them I've seen their capital will be 50 lakhs. But if you see, they would have taken a loan of 1.5 crores, which is 3 times their capital. So in that case, your debt and equity, debt is basically loan, equity is basically your money, which you have put in. So normal ideal debt equity ratio is 1:1. So basically, if you have put in 50 lakhs of money to your business, say for last 10 years, you can actually go up to 50 lakhs. So 1:1. So capital and debt generally should be equal. But I understand the market is very aggressive. People, what they think is, okay, let me take a loan and actually expand my business. But actually, if you see, a lot of people keep taking loan and actually do business only to pay to the bankers and their employees. If you ask 100 entrepreneurs, 90 entrepreneurs will say yes to this question actually. So most of the entrepreneurs, what we do is we keep doing a lot of things, we do a lot of struggles, but in the end, actually, we are actually working for the bank to pay the interest, and to pay our employees, we are actually keep on working. So it should be the other way around. So there should be some surplus beyond your bank loan and paying to a salary. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't take salary at all actually. But if you see a good practice is the business owner should take the salary first. Then they have to give it to the employees, and then they have to give it to the bank. But if you see the link itself is totally reversed. So what they do is they pay to the employees, pay to the banker. If something is left, only then actually they pay themselves. That is not actually the right way. that means you are waiting for surplus to be there only then to take money. Maybe in the initial 3 years, 5 years, I understand most of the business they do like that. But beyond 5 years, 10 years, it's high time where actually you start focusing on why this issue is there, why you are not able to pay yourself first. So you have to ask this question. So what I would say is, until you reach a stage where you are able to take first, and a lot of them, if you see, they will say, I take my salary. But if you ask them, are you taking the salary equivalent to your time and efforts? They will say no. Hardly 1 or 2% are entrepreneurs where they say, sir, I take a 3 lakh salary per month or 4 lakh salary per month. So that is what is actually a real entrepreneurship, because there is a lot of difference between doing a business and being as an entrepreneur. There's a huge difference. So people have to do business something better in, not just survive. That is what is my request. Next is costing. Costing is very, very critical. Reason being, going forward, there is going to be heavy competition. Everyone are going to compete only on cost, because 2 months there is no business. Lot of them have used their savings. Even the savings has now actually gone down. So people will go to companies where they are able to give good cost. They will not go to a person where if you're pricing very high. So what people will do is, to catch up the lost sale, they will reduce the costing and they will give more and more discount. So when people are giving discount and the costing is reduced, what will happen is you eventually will be forced to bring your cost down and sell at a lower price. So when you're doing this, what will happen is, you should know what is your actual cost, because 90% I've seen, they have never put it on paper and identify what is their direct material, what is their labor, what is their expenses, what are their overheads, common overheads, allocating them properly and arriving at what is the cost per unit. Most of the entrepreneurs, they actually fail doing this. What they do is, I buy at X rate, I put 20% margin and sell at Y. Okay, they think that, okay, I'm making profit. But actually, if you see and start working on the costing, you will be surprised actually. You will actually know what is the profit you're making, whether you are doing the right costing or not, or you have been selling at a loss. So generally, if you see, a lot of them keep getting loan and keep pumping in the end, there is no money. So those entrepreneurs, I would request you to focus on costing more, because we don't know, you may be pricing at a very low cost than actually you should. So costing is a biggest advantage. There is a format called cost sheet. Every entrepreneur should do a costing and see how their costing are, because tomorrow if there is a big order and you have to quote a price, you should know your cost. So definitely that is very important. So if you don't know your cost, tomorrow there is a big order and you actually lose out by thin margin and you're gone. So people, your competitor who has done the costing properly will be able to actually take the project and they'll make profit. So next is know your fixed cost. Keep it as low as possible. So fixed cost is very, very critical. What is fixed cost is basically, you are doing business or not, there are few expenses where you have to pay, like rent, salary and other insurance and all. So as an entrepreneur, a lot of them, they don't know their fixed cost at all. If you ask them in the month of May, how much should I make payment? So they don't know how much should I make payment. They don't know their fixed cost at all. So it is right time where you actually should know what is your fixed cost, what is the outflow for the month of May. A lot of them don't know. What days they are worried that there is no inflow, I should only make the payment. What I'm saying is, for the month of May, how much payment you have to make, you actually have to work out and see how can I bring that sales. That is what is required. So focus should be keep your fixed cost as low as possible. So you would have read in the news, say 15 days back, regarding a lot of IT companies. They are actually laying off a lot of employees. They are actually making people work from home, and in the future they're thinking that let's not have an office. Why should we have an office? A lot of them have started actually contemplating on why do we need so much investment in fixed asset? Why not we reduce our fixed cost? So all the entrepreneurs are actually focusing on how can I bring my cost down? How can I bring my fixed cost down? So if you ask me, every month, say 5 lakhs is your outflow. So no matter what, 5 lakh you have to make payment. See how you can bring that 5 lakhs to 4 lakhs. How that 4 lakhs you can bring it to 3 lakhs. That should be your focus. I'm not saying compromise on profits or compromise on quality. You have to ensure that using technology, there are so many ways where you can do. We are going to discuss that. So fixed cost, keep it as low as possible. So these are a few options to reduce your fixed cost. See, a lot of them are worried actually, how do I reduce my fixed cost? Okay, so these are few ways where you can reduce your fixed cost. One is you can defer or postpone the expense itself. So before you do any expenditure, think if it is definitely required or not. Okay, see if you can postpone or defer. Next is defer or postpone the payment. See, say for example, your payment is due. You can actually talk to your vendor and buy some time. See if you can defer or postpone the payment. So this will not reduce your cost, but actually impact your cash flow. So you get more cash for making some urgent payments. So and third is ask for discount or price revision due to the situation. See, there is no harm in asking discount. At this point of time, you have to reduce your fixed cost. So don't mind asking discount. Alternative cost-effective vendors are there. See, there may be various vendors who may be selling at a lower cost. See if you can approach them and buy from them at the same quality. Negotiate existing terms and conditions. See, you might have a lot of terms and conditions, say legal contract with your insurance company, legal contract with your vendors, legal contract with a lot of your expense vendors. So talk to them, see if you can negotiate and renegotiate the terms and condition and bring down the cost. So that is one way. Calculative expenses with quotation. See, a lot of SME entrepreneurs, they don't have the habit of getting a quotation also. There is a friend of mine who is selling at a price, I will buy from him. So going forward, you can't actually do that. Even if your friend is selling, you might have to go to 2-3 people, get a quotation, see where is the cost lowest, quality is also maintained. You have to go from them. So check for subsidies. So I'm sure MSME will come up with subsidies. As of now, a lot of people are very disappointed with the relief which is being given for MSME. It's actually nothing has reached. So hopefully, maybe this month we can expect some relief for MSMEs. Check out for subsidies from the government. See what you can do. So for that, first you have to register with the MSME. So it's a simple 15 minutes registration you can do online free. So get that Udyog Aadhar ready so that tomorrow if something comes up, you can actually avail those subsidies. So think frugally, do more with less. So going forward, whatever you do, you have to start seeing that how can I do more with less. Say for example, there are 10 employees now and you're doing X sales. See, with the same 10 employees, you have to do 2X. So you have to start thinking in everything where with the same infrastructure, how can I build my business better? With the same production capacity, how can I improve my production? So the lean management is there. There's so many things. You have to start working on that. So budgeting is very, very critical. A lot of them think that, sir, everything is uncertain. What budget should I put? So if you see, strength of an entrepreneur is basically how he predicts the future. Okay, see, we all know that future is uncertain, but aren't we not predicting and thinking, okay, the economy will go like this. So the GDP, if it is gone down from 5% to 1%, what is the impact? So you have to start getting updated and think futuristic as to what are going to happen. Because if you see all these top companies, how they have grown is basically they are very strong in predicting what will happen in next 5 years. And they actually start now. But what we do is when something comes up, actually we start working on it. So if you see all this technology, it has come 5 years back, 10 years back. But if we are actually adopting now, you take an example of Zoom. Zoom has been there from 2011. But when have we started using Zoom? It is now. Reason being why we are using Zoom is basically because of the situation. Otherwise, we would have adopted maybe 3 years down the line, or we don't know we would have taken Zoom or not. So what I'm telling is, if something happens, only you take action. It should not be that way. So next 5 years down the line in your industry, what is going to happen, you should know now, and you have to start acting now. So that 5 years now, in fact, has become 1 year because after COVID, things are going to go at a speed of 5x, 10x. People will be like running, not even walking or jogging. People will be running. So if you don't run along with them, definitely will be left behind. That is my request. So cut middlemen if possible. There'll be maybe distributor, wholesaler, retailer. Going forward, everything is going to cut. People, manufacturers will be starting to see how can I reach my consumer directly. Because if there are so many middlemen, you will have to pay more. So the cost is more. So See, if you are in the chain of a middleman, you have to adopt accordingly. So working capital management, this is one key area in accounting and finance where a lot of the companies actually fail because they are not able to manage their working capital effectively. So if you see, working capital is very simple. Your current asset minus current liabilities is your working capital. So what current asset is basically whatever can be converted into cash within 1 year, that is less than 1 year, generally is classified as current asset, like your stock, your receivables, your cash, bank. All these are current asset. Why it is called current asset is basically it can be converted into cash. Your stock can be converted into cash. Your receivables can be converted into cash less than 1 year. Whatever is less than 1 year is classified as current asset, and whatever is payable or outflow in cash, which is planned to happen less than 1 year, is basically current liabilities. All your vendor payments and other payments all comes under current liability because it's less than 1 year and is payable. So most of the entrepreneurs have seen the working capital, that is the short-term working capital management, every month they are actually struggling. So if you see, it's predominantly because of two things. One is they are weak in collection, or their receivables are not strong, or they are not good at stock management. So these are the two pillars for effectively managing your working capital. So it is very simple. If you have an expenditure of say 100 rupees, in your pocket you should have 150 rupees. It's very simple. But the problem is your expense is 100, actually you have only 90 rupees. You're actually waiting for the 10 rupees extra to actually make the payment of 100. That is the situation right now. But actually, if you see, if you know that this month my payment is 100, you should actually ensure that you will have 150 rupees in your pocket in this month end, or at least whenever the payments are. That is only a working capital management, to put in very simple terms. Okay. Best practices with respect to receivables and collection. So as we said, working capital management is one area where most of the SME entrepreneurs are very weak. Receivables and collection is basically your money. You've done your sales, money has to come from your customers. People are not able to manage that efficiently. I will tell you 10 best practices where going forward you will not face your receivables or collection management. So first is have a clear credit policy. Whom should I give credit? How much should I give credit? When should I give credit? You should have answers for these three things. But what we do is basically, okay, money is coming, okay, let me give credit. Okay, he's a first time customer, I want money, I will give him credit. So if you see tomorrow he will not pay at all. We do not do a background check, or we do not tell him that you pay me, you do first 3 sales, you make the payment properly. From 4th sale onwards, I will give you credit. So we don't restrict that. Have a clear credit policy. That is very important. These are all best practices where your money will actually come and it will not be stuck. See, we have seen a lot of them where sales is huge. The receivables, what the money they should get from a customer is also huge, but they never get that money. It's always blocked. So when your money is always blocked, you don't have money to make your payments. You would have seen that, see, they say, no, வர வேண்டிய காசு எப்பவுமே கரெக்டா வராது, ஆனா கொடுக்க வேண்டிய காசு மட்டும் கரெக்டா வெண்டாஸ் கேட்டுப்பாங்க. We all have faced that situation, correct? So if you plan accordingly, if you get your receivables on time, things will actually, working capital will improve. The second is have a structure to follow up on receivables to be clear. So structure to follow up on receivable. See, if you would have seen lot of companies, actually every 7 days they will send you a reminder, payment reminder. Every 30th day they will send a payment reminder. Or if the due date is say tomorrow, 5 days before they will send you a reminder. That is only a good practice of receivable collection. So basically your customer should know when are you asking money, when is the due. It should not be that your customer calls and asks you, sir, when should I make payment? Or generally what happens is entrepreneurs, when the money is not there, only then they call their customers. Sir, I need money, money is not there. Or they will not say that, but they will actually pressurize their clients to get the money. So one fine day they will wake up and see the bank balance, money is not there. So I should make salary payment on 5th or 1st, I don't have money. That is when they follow up. So follow up should not be like that. It should be very consistent. That is very important. So if the customer knows you ask the payment regularly, he will actually make the payment. The third is staff should be trained to convert a no into yes. She would have got a lot of credit card calls. So if you have seen, once we say no, they keep it. But actually, you should actually learn to convert a no into yes. That is when the success is. Because if you see, the customer will always say there is no money, I'll give you next month, I'll give you next week. So basically the admin person or the owner who calls the customer, should be in a capacity to convert that no into yes. That is only the art of collection. So you should train your staff accordingly. So collect part payment wherever possible. See, the problem is suppose the payment due is say 2 lakhs. We call the customer and ask, sir, give me 2 lakhs. But seeing the situation, you can say that, sir, every week can you make part payment? Or say every 15 days, can you make 25% payment? So you have to start actually focusing on that, because no one is ready to pay amount in full. So give cash discount wherever possible, because you can get the money fast. So you have to track your debtors regularly. For that, your accounting should be proper. Only when you're accounting and you account all the sales, you can actually start tracking your receivables. So stop selling the client is not creditworthy. So you would have seen, if the client is not creditworthy, immediately you have to stop the sales. And the ninth is a very important point, where incomplete service or unsatisfied customer, generally they will delay the payment. You would have seen in a lot of places where the customer is not satisfied, normally they will not pay. So that is why they take the feedback and ensure that they don't get stuck with the payment. Accounting should be up to date, because only if the accounting is up to date, you can do all of these things and monitor your receivables accordingly. So best practices with respect to stock management. One second. So with respect to stock management, this is also one of the great pillars where you have to manage your stock efficiently. So you have to start tracking your stocks in account. I've seen most of them, they don't bring the stock inside their accounts at all. So the closing stock generally is the final balancing figure. Just to match the loan, they show the closing stock. So that is how it has been. So you have to start tracking the stock. So second is stock ordering system. So you should know when to order, how much quantity to order. Something like just in time should be there. System, there are a lot of system where you do not order stocks just like that. So you would have seen a lot of places where stock is too much of stock has been purchased. So it's all because of you do not have a proper stock ordering system in place. The third is credit policy for purchase. You have to have a clear credit policy for purchase. Speed of transaction is very, very important, because stock rotation all depends on how fast is your stock rotation. So if you manufacture something, it should go out very soon. It should not be like you manufacture it, it takes 30 days for you to actually deliver it to your customer and then get payment after 30 days. So the gap between the manufacture or the purchase of item between that and sales should be very less. So stock rotation should be very, very fast. So the more stock you rotate, the higher the profit. So do not keep non-moving stock. That is one very important thing. So do not invest too much of money in fixed assets. Fixed asset is basically all your land, investment in land, or investment in interiors, or investment in all your computers, and lot of fixed assets are there where the benefits is more than 1 year. So generally what happens is we recommend that you should not invest too much in fixed asset, because your money is blocked. So when you have to invest in a fixed asset is only when there is a surplus, and the next 6 months, 1 year, you can manage your all your working capital efficiently. Only then you actually have to invest in fixed assets. Otherwise, you should not invest. So that is why if you see a lot of new business models have come in the industry for last 5 years, 10 years. So that is called asset light model. Basically, this Ola, Swiggy, and Oyo, they use a business model called asset light model, where they do not invest in too much of assets. Like if you see Ola, none of their cars are purchased actually by Ola. There is a driver, he has a car that is being used by the business. So Ola is just created a technology where they make money. So Swiggy also is the same. They just do delivery through their technology, because the bike is not their own. They do not hire people. What they do is just using technology, they get the orders and supply, that's all. So they pay salary to their staffs. That is the model which Swiggy has adopted. Oyo is basically again same. None of the building the Oyo owns or it is not purchased. But normally what we do is whenever money is there, we buy land. But the thing is, if you see right now, the real estate is really bad. So even if you have land, you're not able to sell that. So what matters is your liquid money is what is matters right now. So do not invest too much in fixed asset. Instead, what you can do is you can actually go on lease, take lease, take rentals. So going forward, rental business is going to actually boom because most of them will not have money to actually buy asset worth say 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs. What they will do is they will they will be ready to pay rentals instead. Like every month I'll pay 50,000, something like that. So focus on not investing too much in fixed asset, but go use this lease option, rental option. So this is what it is. And see, accounting and finance is on one side. The other side, you should also have a strong internal controls. We would have seen lot of things where there is a fraud happening in the company. The cashier has taken money, the money has been disappeared or siphoned off. See, all this has happened because there are no strong internal controls. So preventive controls is what is a very important control where before an issue is happening, this if you have preventive control, this will stop the fraud or error. So example, you have a password policy, you have your bank OTP. OTP is it's a good preventive control actually used by the banks where you can easily you can't transfer funds. So that's why if you see in banks also there will be two people to authorize the same transaction. So even if you see top companies and all, for every transaction they'll have 2-3 multiple people, because if you allow the same person to do everything, the chances of fraud and errors are high. So having preventive controls is always beneficial and is actually cost effective rather than having a detective controls or corrective controls. So anyways, I'll be sharing this slide, sir. So I'm not going too deep into all these controls. You can actually check this slide out. So preventive controls is always better. That's why we say preventive cost of preventive is less than others. So prevention is better than cure. We have heard this a lot of times. So this is what it actually means. So preventive is better than cure, prevention. So this is the last slide. So maybe another 2 minutes, I'll be closing it up. Whatever has been spoken about finance and accounts, everything is right. But if the financial statements do not reflect the true position of your business, you actually cannot make the right decisions. Right now, if you see, a lot of entrepreneurs do not bring into the books lot of things. They do not bring in lot of sales. They do not show the right expenses. They do not show the right profits. But the thing is, you can't take decisions based on a wrong profit and loss or a wrong balance sheet. So you need to have a profit and loss and balance sheet accurate. Only then you can make accurate financial decisions. So when the profit is not right, how can you take a lot of decisions? You can't put a lot of ratios and then say my profit is high or less. So in the end, if you are able to have your financial statements accurately, but the thing is, no one wants to pay taxes. No one wants to show their right profit. So, but if you see all these large companies and growing companies, they are actually very compliant. They keep their books and numbers very accurate because they know the importance of keeping the numbers accurate. It will help you in a lot of things like in your bank loan. If you see bank loan itself, the interest rate will actually vary if your financial statements are very strong. If you have a very good balance sheet, you will actually get interest at a lower rate than a weak balance sheet. A weak balance sheet generally interest rates will be 15%, 16%, 18%. But if you see if you have a strong balance sheet, accurate figures, it's a good growth, profit is there, actually the banker will give you a 10%, 11%. So the gap is say 5% interest per annum. So this 5%, if you do things right, actually you can take the home as a profit. Because if you ask me, sir, can you take this net profit home? 90% no one will say, sir, profit is there, but I can't take that money home or in my pocket because it will be stuck in receivables or stock. So the beauty is basically your money should not be blocked in your fixed assets or stocks or receivable. you have to keep that flow happening. Cash flow, you should be very strong. So because a lot of them dream of making a large corporate, or everyone wants their SME to grow into MNC. But actually, if you miss out on finance and accounting, which is the base or the foundation, no matter how strong you are in sales, no matter your product is brilliant, no matter your marketing is great, everything is great. But if you're weak in finance and accounts, definitely you can make money, but you cannot make the money which you dream of actually. So that's it from my side, sir. Das, sir.
Yes, please wait. Yes. Thank you, Amrit.
Thank you, sir. I'm just closing the slide, sir.
Yeah, all the 10 points are very basic and it is understandable. I think so. Everyone can understand this. And I would like to go for a poll whether they are interested on any workshops. Please wait. So do you think you want a workshop session on finance management? If yes, how many days? Could you please poll? There are 23 audience out there. Could you please vote? So for 11 people voted. Okay, let's finish. So we have, I'm sharing the result. Can you able to see the result? So most of the people are interested doing a 1-day workshop, and 8% 2-day workshop, another 42% on 4 weekends workshop. This is just, I want to see how many people are interested to know more on financial management to run their companies.
Sir, can we take questions, sir?
Yes, yes.
So can you request members who are there on call, they can shoot out their questions, whatever it is on respect to anything, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
So we'll take 2-3 questions and we'll try to answer.
Yes, yes, yes. Anyone interested to ask the question, they can unmute themselves and they can ask.
Sir, they can actually type in, sir. That is better actually, because the audio, video, we don't know how clear it will be from their end. So there will be unnecessary delay if we allow to ask over call.
Yeah. Someone is asking, can you please share the last slide, contact details?
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir, are you able to see this?
Yes, yes, yes. I can see this.
I just
Someone asked flat tax of 6% or